That's enough of that. This is the wrong screen. Howdy, Tundra. How are you doing today? Hi, Chorus. Hope everyone is doing very well. We brought back the red color scheme for vampires. And we have an outfit. You can't really see it, but I mean, half of the fit is like a little bit of tummy on display there. I've got this cape thing. Cape and free stomach just for you. But I also have this very fancy fur collar and poet shirt thing going on. Or peasanty shirt thing going on. Let's just get those volumes right the way down. So yeah, this is a Vampire the Masquerade game. Long-time viewers of the channel will know we have been to the Vampire the Masquerade universe together before. Is the game too quiet now? It sounds perfect, that's ideal. Yeah, so long-time viewers of the stream will know we have been to the universe of Vampire the Masquerade before. And I just felt like playing this game today because it's been in my Steam menu for ages and I've never played it. And yeah, this could also be some useful learning for me since I'm actually planning on setting a Vampire the Masquerade game myself in New York. Where's my copy of Masquerade, Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition? Hang on. Right underneath the box that contains all of my important paperwork. So it's set in this Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Vampire the Masquerade is a popular tabletop RPG. Does come with a mature content warning. But it also has the absolute, and I'm just going to read this out here, the best conclusion to their mature content warning. This is a game about monsters, but it is only a game. Don't use it as an excuse to be a monster yourself. Such a good mature content warning. Ah. Just gonna chill out for a wee bit before we go live. We can just relax and talk amongst ourselves. I would have done the full makeup, honestly, like I did for the last Vampire the Masquerade stream, but I actually picked this game rather than Red Dead today because I'm a bit low energy. I will be drinking Iron Brew throughout this, so no hydrate for water this time. Okay. It'll be like hydrate instead, but like I with an Iron Brew. Let's start the game. Oh, we get to choose our clan. The Brujah, the Ventrue, or the Toreador. Ooh, now who should we play, chat? I realized that like I might have to move the camera for this stream to somewhere else. There we go. So we have the Brujah, the rebel against power and rage against authority. A seemingly insignificant man with significant ideas will join their ranks tonight. The Ventrue, the aristocratic blue bloods, embody wealth, sovereignty, and control. A top-level corporate executive will join their ranks tonight. Toreador, the divas seek thrills of art, romance, and cruelty amidst strain and death. A tormented artist will join their ranks tonight. Well, the Toreador definitely speaks to me. Having played both the Brujah and the Ventrue in previous games as well. Shall we play a Toreador? Alright, so we have half a vote for a Toreador and a Brujah. Can someone get, you know what, let's get a 1 minute poll going. I'm going to submit a vote though too, because I'm also part of this conversation. Alright, so we have 2 votes for Brujah and 1 for Toreador. Looks like it will be a Brujah then. I was gonna make a joke about how it's like, oh, the terrifying vampire, Skye. But then it's like, the terrifying vampire, Eric. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked me... Oh, Adric, baby, you gotta go. When I was human, I would have told you it's just superstitious bullshit. That we're all designers of our own destiny. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not a face you could have seen in the papers of course, sank her teeth deep into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now, by the way. Fate? You decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile, just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see it glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eyes. The one you need to be born with. I hate rich people. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me the peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. This guy gives me a fucking Patrick Bateman vibe. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all that they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate. A message saying you're internally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My side didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job, so he considered them toys, and me just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be the day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it's so rare that for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much, don't get me wrong. But it's precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay me the favor you owe me. You're the only one I'd trust to do the job well and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with it unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists, and right now, it's smiling in your favor. This is how it begins. Just need to check something. The music is pounding and your pulse is keeping pace. This is one of those nights that makes you feel alive even though it started with you feeling dead. First came the messy breakup, then the realization you have nobody to talk to about how much it sucked. Still, you decided to roll with the punches. One Facebook search for local events later and you found just the thing for your malaise. A short subway ride and you find yourself in a club just outside Dumbo. Not a fancy one, mind you, more like a slightly refurbished warehouse. But hey, at least the drinks are cheap. The DJ seems to really know his shit too, alternating between cutting-edge industrial techno and classic Detroit crowd pleasers, expertly feeling out everyone's moods. An hour passes, then 2. Usually you feel awkward coming to a place like this alone, but tonight you find something soothing in joining the crowd, blending in, even as you allow the beat to take over. Sweat, yours, other people's, soaks through your shirt and pants in a matter of minutes. A thought pops into your head from the outside, The fully packed club must seem like a stuffy, smelly nightmare, but here, in the thick of it, it becomes exhilarating. That's something I've always noticed about Vampire the Masquerade as compared to other tabletop games, is it's very, like, visceral in its descriptions, you know? Like, it's very, you know, sweat and teeth and taste and smell. And you're not even on a pill tonight. There's this Latina chick whose curves are accentuated by the light dress clinging to her body, and she keeps bumping into you. Something tells you it only seems incidental. Yeah, it's a good night. You wish it could last forever, because you know all too well what the next day holds. Waking up, getting dressed for work, the commute, the 9 to 5 grind that will make you just enough money to pay the rent and keep you living in your overpriced shithole of an apartment. Oh, fuck me. And with Jessica moving out, maybe I'm not the person who should have played this game. It'll all be coming out of your pocket. You run some quick calculations in your head and immediately come to regret that you did. Never mind. You spot the Latina again. She's now next to another guy, hitting it off. Your chance of not going to bed alone, gone. Just like that. Fuck. Or lack of fuck this time. Your mood is temporarily shot down. You leave the dance floor and stumble your way to the filthy bathroom. You take a look in the mirror and start to wash your face. Obsessively. Over and over again. A voice from the past echoes in your mind. I've never felt like this with anyone. Seriously. I mean it. I feel like all my relationships up to this point were test runs, a shitty way to compensate for my low self-esteem. I like her shirt. But this feels right. Finally. Shut up, Jess. This was the craziest fucking day of my life. God, I need a smoke. Pass me a light. What do you mean, cops took the lighter? There's one in your mouth. Just shut the hell up. This is not you. Not anymore. Oh, fuck off. This is so like you, acting like some sort of Clint Eastwood wannabe when I really, really need you to open up. You think you're impressing people with this tough guy act? Fuck you. I know how broken you really are. You need therapy. Jess speaks some truth here. Yeah, now that sounds like the Jessica of today. You raise your head and look in the mirror. You try to smile, but all you can muster is a self-pitying grin. And there she is, the Latina from before. She says you look like you need a drink. You hesitate for a second or two and then blurt out a surprisingly enthusiastic, yeah. You start to talk. It quickly becomes evident that she's into politics and you are eager to please. You might be a corporate drone, but you spend a lot of evenings reading theory. Actual theory, not bastardized Twitter cliff notes, and organizing for all manners of causes online. The status quo sucks. There must be something better. She agrees. You seem to subscribe to the same progressive political theories. Having compatible ideas about the DSA's missteps, even watch the same YouTube channels. Woo! Go H Bomber Guy! Your goals are aligned. She's a bit more radical than you'd have guessed. You attended a few rallies, been to a few protests, but this girl sounds like she broke her share of faces and kicked more than a couple of cops in the nuts over the course of her activist careers. Her zeal is infectious. She taps into a pent-up anger that you didn't know you had. The noisy club stops working for you both, so you hit the streets. Just as you're leaving, the DJ starts playing All the Things She Said by Tattoo. Of course, you chuckle to yourself, trying not to slip into a bad headspace. She chuckles along with you. It's chilly outside, but soon enough you find yourself too invested in listening to the girl's voice to care about anything else. You realize you've been holding hands for a while. The subway car is empty, save for a stoic middle-aged couple and a drunk staring intently at his own feet. Plenty of room to stretch out. And yet she sits right next to you. You can feel her thigh pressing into yours, her breath on the side of your neck. Maybe it's the booze talking, but you distinctly hear your voice asking if she'd like to crash at your place. I've got a better idea, she says. At this point, you're down for anything as long as it lets you spend a few more minutes with her. She takes you to a sleazy motel in the Bronx, trading a few words with the balding, tired-looking guy at the front desk. He hands her a key. Still holding your hand, the woman leads you upstairs. The room you end up in is almost comically stereotypical, complete with a flaking paint and sticky floor. Not that it matters though, the moment you step through the door, she's on you. You try to take the lead, but she's having none of it. Before you know it, you feel the rickety bed pressing against your back. It's sloppy, fun, fierce, and not once does she lose the initiative. Your hands reach under her shirt. Strange. It didn't look like she was cold outside, but now her skin feels eerily cold. And as if sensing your confusion, she slaps your hands off of her. She kisses your neck. You're overwhelmed by the sensation. Darkness. The taste of liquid fire and smoke on your tongue. Her voice saying, "Sorry kid, I did what I had to do to leave this city in one piece. But don't worry, with my blood and your principles, you're gonna do just fine." She slams the motel room door behind her as she leaves. You lie helpless on the soiled, pungent mattress for some time. Minutes? Hours? Before you can focus enough to try and piece together your evening, it hits you. The big hunger. It grips you by the throat and makes your insides shrivel in terror. It's an all-encompassing emptiness that throws you on all fours. You crawl for a while, squirm on the floor in sundering pain, then jump to your feet and bust out the door. You black out. This isn't the room you last saw when you closed your eyes. Somebody curses at you, a small, naked buff dude holding a short leather whip. Wow, what a goofy motherfucker. He throws a punch. He yells out several slurs. He hits you in the jaw. You black out again. The guy isn't moving anymore. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on his arms. There's blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Wow, whoever did this is one sick puppy. You realize you're sitting on top of his corpse. You hear a whimper. Someone else is there, a woman. Her arms are tied to the bed frame, an eye mask over her face, red marks on her back. This time you see it happen. You want to stop, but you can't. She almost manages to get a scream out, but it dies in her throat as you bite into the side of her neck. You drink. Blood. You're drinking blood. You could swear you feel her life force escaping her body, entering yours. Suddenly terrified, you tear away from her. She's not moving, but she's breathing. There's barely a mark on her neck. The guy on the floor, though? You double over in a spasm, realizing what you did. You feel like throwing up, but can only gag. Panic sets in as another realization dawns on you. Your heart isn't beating. You put 2 fingers to your wrists, feel no pulse. Same thing on your neck. Nothing. There's no breath coming out of your mouth. You have to get out. Get someone to call an ambulance, for yourself at least. Probably too late for the dude on the floor. Did you really just kill him? Hey, look, it's the guy from Hunger Pangs. What a mess. You look up. The door to the room is ajar. A tall, handsome, broad-shouldered man fills the entire frame. He pushes an imaginary speck of dirt off his perfectly tailored suit. Call 911. This is not what... Damn it, I'm in front of the text! Balls. Okay. Let's go back to the original position. Chat, you can stay over there. Settings, video. Okay, let's do a bit of shaking it up, shall we? Haven't done this layout in a while. Okay, this looks alright. And I'm assuming you guys can hear me okay? If I'm facing in this direction. How do you like my how do you like my dramatic readings so far? This is the first decision we get to make. I'm using my DM voice and I'm not sure if that's obvious. When do we get an audiobook? When someone hires me. I'm gonna go, this is not what it looks like. Hey man, this isn't what it looks like. That's good to hear, because from where I'm standing it looks like you're in a world of trouble. He surveys the room, not moving an inch from where he's standing. He shakes his head in mock concern. Murder, assault, that's 25 to life, if you're lucky. But since you're not, it's a death sentence. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Lucky for you, it's been a slow night. Otherwise, I might have gotten here in time. Come on, the sun comes up in a few hours. You don't want to be around here when it does. The sun? What's the matter when the sun comes up? Ah, so you don't even know. You should be glad I got here before you made yourself scarce. The man approaches you and starts talking. His tone remains unnaturally calm. Oddly enough, you find it both soothing and slightly unnerving. Now listen to me. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you, and going by experience, they tend to fall into two categories. First, there are the smart ones who carefully obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones. The punks who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody secretly and without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. There's definitely a lot of BDSM style stuff in vampire games. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before, likely dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness. One that inspired me to come up with a 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a threatening swagger to his walk. Eventually he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, I understand, sir. Now. You've never been too eager to bend the knee to anyone, but this is something. This man's very presence instills a primal fear in your heart. I understand, sir. Glad we have an understanding. Moving on, is there anyone you'd want to inform of your current situation? Tell them you're alright. He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason the sight sends a chill down your spine. There's something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? Lie of your ass! Yeah, because he did specifically say, don't try to contact someone. Yes, and who is this Jerry? Your frantic mind is drawing a blank. Jerry's a man of many faces. The stranger gives you a tired stare. Lying to me is a strike, whelp. My ex-girlfriend. Jessica, my ex-girlfriend. She kinda hates my guts, but yeah, I suppose it would be her. The stranger gives you a puzzled look and decides to prod further. The closest person in your life hates your guts. This time, something resembling a look of pity. He turns his eyes to the corpses on the floor. When it rains, it pours, I suppose. Well, if you'd like to ruin her day and let her know you're alright, give me her phone number. I'll have someone take care of it. Discreetly, of course. You hand him your smartphone so he can copy the number from your list of contacts. Thank you. This will be useful in illustrating my next point. Instead of giving you back your phone, the man hides it in his pocket. From this point on, you are subject to a different set of laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. He interrupts his monotone recitation and stares deep into your eyes. So unless you want your girlfriend to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I'd suggest you cooperate. He proudly displays his fangs again. You've put Jess in danger. God damn it. I can only hope that you care enough for her to not do anything selfish. His words are meant to imply otherwise, but by now it's obvious. He hates your guts as much as you hate his. He's itching for a fight, and you're almost willing to oblige. Alright, I think that's enough lecturing for today. We're on a bit of a schedule here. Now, I don't need to hurt you, but I can do so in the blink of an eye. Just so that we're clear, I have the authority to end you right here, right now. This is not an idle threat, so are you going to play along, or do we have to do this the hard way? What do we do, chat? We have a request for follow him. Okay. You weigh your chances, but it doesn't look promising. This guy's fit, determined, and looks like he means business. You, on the other hand, are confused, exhausted, and on the verge of a panic attack. It really is me! It's like it's just recited from my life! Yeah, fine. I'll go with you. He almost looks disappointed. A wise decision. Follow me, please, and close the door behind you. You take one final look at the woman who's just coming to, and the body on the ground. This is fucked. Absolutely fucked. You pull the handle and close the door. The man leads you downstairs. You contemplate signaling the bald guy at the front desk, but he's too busy watching some 90s action flick on a small, ancient-looking TV. He seems totally oblivious to your presence. You hear a dejected Jean-Claude Van Damme say, "I just want to go home," as you're walking by. Your would-be kidnapper stops by the door and addresses you before opening it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, as soon as he opens the door, I'll make a run for it. Maybe I can outrun him. I'll save you the trouble. You can't. You can either get inside my car, and I'll get you somewhere that you need to be, or you can try something stupid that you'll regret later. Do I make myself clear? Why don't you turn me in? Because no one would benefit from that. And besides, I have my orders. He opens the door and gestures to a black Cadillac car parked right outside the building. After you. Go inside the car. Following the stranger's instructions, you make your way to the car and get in the back seat. The door locks behind you. Inside the Cadillac is almost entirely dark. The side window seems light-proof. The man gets in the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. Did I die? This is the afterlife, isn't it? You're not entirely wrong, but it's not what you think. He weighs his next words carefully. You have to forgive me, I'm not in the mood to wax poetic about the state you're in or my role in tonight's events. Just remember, if you want to survive the next 24 hours, you'll have to play along. This is some shady bullshit. Why does everything have to be a fucking riddle? Well, riddle me this. Who's gonna get their teeth smashed into their brain if he doesn't shut up? Understand this, that this is for your own good. Times being what they are, you should consider yourself lucky. You drive in silence for about 20 more minutes, and exhaustion catches up with you. The streetlights fade into a blur. Eventually, the car stops and the door opens. You emerge from your dreamlike state and find yourself in some kind of underground parking garage. You two are the only ones here. The man points to a nearby door. Go on, make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry, again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow and you'll get your answers. His voice has changed. Behind the door in a small room. There's a small room. No windows, just a simple bed, a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. This is fucked up. This is all kinds of fucked up. Trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. Just know one thing. Remember when I said you were lucky? I meant it. You see, it's my job to get rid of problems, but I'm not always this polite about it. This time, I was specifically told to mind my manners. So believe me when I tell you, considering how this night could have turned out, being stuck in here for a night is really a good deal. Now get in, or I'll throw you in. Walk inside the room. You step inside. The stranger nods. Good night. He closes the door behind you. It looks sturdy, but as he's locking it, you notice the claw marks all over. Looks like some previous guests weren't satisfied with their stay. You decide not to dwell on it and check the fridge. There's a single plastic vat in there filled with red liquid. No label. Tomato soup? You feel sick to your stomach. Better just leave it for now. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. You can't help but think it looks exactly like the one back at the hotel with the bound woman. Oh right, you killed a man tonight. Or did you? Maybe none of this is real. Maybe it's all an elaborate prank. The girl at the club just might have put her up to this. The tall guy's clearly on it too. Now he's back with them and they're all laughing their asses off. You don't know what to think anymore. Your mind races, but you're too tired to keep it going. Finally, you tense up one last time before drifting away into oblivion. You wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remembered when you drifted it off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on, the AC is still rattling, the refrigerator is still humming. You take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 PM? You slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone and you feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you are certain about one thing. You are hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling though. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads through your chest, throat, and back of the head. You open the fridge. The bag's still there. You take a closer look at it. If it's soup, then its color and texture is off. You pull the cork out, take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. It's bagged blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it almost nauseating. But now, it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. Drink the blood. Drink the blood. It feels wrong, but right now, there's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid in your mouth. It tastes bland. Reminds you of cheap supermarket juice. Just enough flavour to register as what it claims to be on the box, but nothing like the real thing. Nothing like what you had last time. You swallow it. Somehow you don't feel sick. In a weird, messed up way, you can't help but think it feels nourishing. You take a few more sips, and then just another one. Suck on the bag a little more. Eventually you find that you've emptied it entirely. All, you look at the info pressed onto the side of the bag, 450 milliliters of it. Even with its blandness, you still feel like having more. You realize your body longs for that intoxicating high you felt when an image of that corpse crosses your mind and causes you to wince. What have you become? You try to piece together your thoughts, make sense of it all, when you hear the lock click and see the door open. Standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again, that predatory look, like a hawk on the hunt. But somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tamed hawk, maybe? Good evening. Slept well? He notices the discarded empty bag. I see you had a bit of a snack. Yeah. Got any more? No. And don't expect sustenance to be this easy to find next time. Come on, we've got places to be. The car's humming in the empty parking lot, outside the door of the cramped room you've spent the day in. The man motions to it politely, but with a stern look on his face. Get inside the car. I'm trusting you here, man. I'm touched. Sincerely. You take the back seat again. The door locks. The stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep trying to catch a glimpse of familiar streets or landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproof, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic humming and the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked alright. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There's nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realise now that you're hungry? No, not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You try to extract some information out of the man behind the wheel, but you realise you prefer to bask in the afterglow of your last meal. You wouldn't have expected it, but you spend the rest of the trip lost in your thoughts. A lot of them concern blood. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York, that much is certain. Queens, maybe? After me. No sudden movements, please. You approach a nice-looking building that has a two-story gallery called the Art Hall. Two large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems particularly interested in the art pieces on the wall, and the atmosphere is polite. Unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you, as if wishing to appraise your worth. The last time you felt like this was at your previous job interview. It was like being a piece of livestock inspected from all sides for any imperfection, so your wage could be haggled down. It was dehumanizing and made you feel dirty. When they called you the next day to offer you the job, you declined. Even when you're a nobody, you become even less if you trade away your dignity for a paycheck. The memory makes you feel warmer inside even now, although the state of your bank account never did. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, a crowd of strangers, you being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Good evening, miss. You are addressing the Prince of New York City, Helena Panhard, child of Michaela? Thank you, my sheriff, but I am capable of introducing myself. She is somewhat plain-looking, and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still, the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people, that much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction to the young life was abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience, but I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. Remain silent. You decide it's best to stay silent and listen to the whole situation unfold. It feels like you're out of your depth here. Shall we begin? You are about to be judged by the Court of New York. Kadir, please tell how you found this fledgling and what happened on your way here. Court? prince? Is this some kind of secret society make-believe? A trusted informant, who has chosen to remain anonymous at the time, tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigation, I found them gone, but his fledgling remained in their place. The hunger made him savage a prostitute and his client in a Bronx brothel belonging to one of the ministry. I have already spoken to Sensaric about this, and he made sure it'll blow over. Regarding the fledgling himself, surprisingly enough, he's offered little resistance last night and cooperated on the way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force his compliance. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged him to join me, which he did without struggle. Again, a pleasant departure from my usual routine. His thirst partially slacked with the bagged blood we kept in the safe house. We had a pleasant enough drive here. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behaviour and will take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there is the matter of your sire. The person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? A feisty woman. A Latina woman, very radical unless she convincingly lied to me. She was special. Extraordinary. She had fire, conviction, temper. She seduced me. Easily, in fact. Made me think she wanted me. I fell for it, and now I'm here. It feels awkward talking to a room of strangers about what seemed like a random one-night stand. Not to mention that even though the Latina made an impression on you, her face is already fading from your mind. You realize she never even told you her name. Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not. Or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. The receptionist she spoke to may know her. That chick, she rented out the room at the motel. Talked to the receptionist. He might know something about her. There's a stretch! Ooh, I have bat wings! Unlikely, but regardless, thank you for this observation. I will investigate this later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thy and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom and a handful of people follow her out. We're about to ask this Kadir what all that talk of traditions and councils was, when the red-haired woman approaches both of you. Sophie? Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir. We all know what the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands tonight after all. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you are left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite a pickle. What do you mean? I still don't understand what my crime is here. Poor thing. This really isn't your fault, but if you want to get out of here in one piece, you need to understand one crucial fact that seems to have eluded your grasp. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait, what? Oh yes, I'm well aware of how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires? You're looking at them. They're us. You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No. Not wine. That's not the right thickness. And not the right colour either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing's not returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out, by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you'll be cut down as sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out, under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and your deference to Kadir will work in your favour. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I'm not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. You'll make me your servant? So let me get this straight. You'll make me your servant in exchange for my life. That's the deal. If you insist on putting it in such pedestrian terms, yes, that is the deal. As you so eloquently put it. The alternative, I fear, final death at the hands of Kadir. Here, tonight. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard fastened with a colourful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes centre stage again. Loyal kindred of New York City, of the New York City Camarilla gathered here tonight, I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. She briefly addresses you. I want you to know that this was not an easy decision. For your part, you've not done anything to earn our ire. I do feel a genuine sorrow for what must be done. We are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever. There is no place for tolerating dissent when our existence is under constant threat. Although I acknowledge some of my council's divergent opinion on this. She takes a look at specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a rather plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin is somewhat a healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate, and I declare that, while their embrace might be their sire's responsibility, in their absence it is their progeny who must be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir? You hear a scraping sound and see the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It's a beautifully detailed blade which you expect must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. You quickly mumble. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you, and his eyes meet yours. You note just a hint of sadness in his countenance, one that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. And he's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. Ask for mercy. You make your choice. I'm not going down like this, damn it. Spare me! Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer? Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The bored elite suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of this distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letters of the law. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance they can become an asset to our domain. Am I to understand that you are volunteering to take this sireless child under your protection? Yes, I happen to think they might hold potential that would be unfortunate to waste. I do expect their full cooperation, of course. Whispers can be heard again, An incredulous voice or two are hushed. Just behave. Behead the fucker. Some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favour, but another will have to be forced even more firmly in its stead. Until thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable asset to our sect in a time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. I'm worth keeping alive, Prince. Give me a chance to prove myself. That remains to be seen, though I do take notice of your tenacity. See that it doesn't become a burden. I shall grant what you ask. Let it be known Sophie Langley of the Clan of Rose will become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfying, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Skye, Prince. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Skye. Now, this evening proved to be even more entertaining than I anticipated, but with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting's at an end. Thank you for all appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties. Of course, Prince. He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched, you will be judged, and if need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Skye, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. But let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to our new fruitful partnership. She raises her hand, and one of the well-dressed concierges, who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guests' glasses. The conventionally handsome man approaches with a cup of red liquid. He pours it into two tall glasses. It's blood again, that much is clear. You're in two minds about drinking it, but the memory of the last night's hunger makes you wince. You take a tentative sip. You expected the same blandness you tasted a few hours ago, but this one, you can actually savor. It's smoky and warm, making you think of a cozy cabin in the woods. It does strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when drinking human blood, but it is what it is. You've never tasted anything like it. Do you like it? I think the New York City caterers have very bourgeois ideas about what good blood should taste like. Apologies, you must have so many questions. We're on the topic, perhaps we should start with those relating to sustenance. Where do you get the blood? It's kind of weird that you have waiters serving blood. Where do you get it from? That can be a bit of a touchy subject. Let's just say this is that most of the blood available at events like this is crowdfunded. Did I get that right? It's hard to keep track of modern language. At any rate, what I mean is that there is a plethora of vessels on tap. As for where to get blood when you're not at Elysium, tomorrow I shall take you hunting and we will explore this topic further. What you need to know right now is no matter how much you drink, you will always be tempted to have more, unless you consume someone wholly to the last drop. But even that doesn't last. Best start by just taking a single sip from a vessel. Be prudent. Hot, fresh blood is more satiating than anything that can be served in a fancy glass, but it can make you more voracious. As to how much you should have, it depends. If you're frugal, you can survive many nights without a single drink, but it's risky and will tempt the beast that is part of our curse. You mentioned the beast? The beast, is it a metaphor or... Oh, it's quite real, although not in a strictly physical sense. It lives in all of us. Our nature and our hunger manifest. The more religious among us connected to the biblical Cain, the rage of the first murderer, caused by God, seething in all his descendants. I, however, am a child of the Enlightenment. Not that it makes my struggles any easier. I have to be wary like any other kindred in this city. Individual kindred have a unique relationship to their beast. What yours is going to be remains to be seen. but you do need to keep it under control. Each outburst endangers not just you, but also the Masquerade. The concierge returns, asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile, and leans in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. I'm being told the gallery is about to close, but we have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. Jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on makes you remember the way you felt with the Latina. It's not arousing, though, more like magnetic. You find it hard to argue. Even though you're still suspicious of her authority over you, her charm momentarily wins you over. Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven, middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately. Where did we leave off? I believe I started telling you about our customs. You've heard the prince refer to our traditions. The chief among them is the Masquerade. As you might have gathered from us, assembling at a niche gallery after closing time, our comings, goings, and doings tend to be somewhat secretive. We do not advertise our existence. We allow myths and modern fiction to morph and muddle the facts, so that the vast majority of kind, we remain bedtime stories and cultural icons. Say, is that one of the television show about a vampire angel still popular? You shake your head in confusion. She shrugs and continues talking, looking a little bit more dejected than before. Our clandestine ways help us remain safe. Allow us to explain away the occasional trip up to the rational minds of the 21st century humanity, and dictates much of our interactions with mortals. Is your drive? What's the risk? What's the worst thing that could happen if you're a vampire? I'm sure you can defeat any threats that come your way. I read that in her voice for some reason. It would surely make things easier if we could. Unfortunately for us, there are plenty of things that harm us. Chief amongst them are sunlight and fire. Both will burn you to ash. That's why we rest during the day. You felt it, I'm sure, that it's more like being dead than being dormant. But we have no choice. We are night dwellers, but day sleepers. Some more folk-related threats are just legends, or occasionally a minor nuisance. Garlic, running water, even religious symbols don't repel us. Unless the wielder is uniquely pure and godly. Stakes to the heart, though, they're something to avoid. They do not destroy, but they do paralyze, which under the right circumstance can often be the same thing. There's a reason to have somebody like my trusted driver Gregory making sure we're safe when you drift away. We have many enemies, and they often know their advantage lies with daylight. Do vampires watch each other's backs? You mentioned enemies. I guess that makes it necessary to watch each other's backs. Can you count on other vampires for that? She surprises you by letting out a soft chuckle before answering. No. Our little sect supplies social interaction to plenty, but it doesn't really encourage counting on someone. Support given in exchange for favours? Yes, that's more like it. Long-term solidarity does occur in the Camarilla, but we're a very politicised organisation by necessity. Loyalty is to your sire, to your prince, and to the sect. When you're in Elysium, like we were tonight, the sect can appear to be a monolith. The reality is more complex. Outside of official gatherings, shady deals and quid pro quo mentality reign supreme. She seems to be lost in thought and falls silent for a while, leaving you to ponder all the things you've learned tonight. It still feels absolutely unreal, but as piece after piece of knowledge falls into place, the image becomes almost like an entirely logical jigsaw puzzle. Whatever you wouldn't believe on your own, you've witnessed. Many questions swarm your thoughts, but the ones that keep returning to you is what your place in this new reality should be. The car stops. You're in the city, in front of an old but well-renovated apartment building. We're here. Would you like to see your lodgings? It's another parking lot room. Don't be ridiculous. You're not a Silas fledgling in Kade's stone grasp anymore, and even he wouldn't hold you there any longer than necessary, I think. Come upstairs. She leads you through a small hall with a night guard who greets Miss Langley with a good evening and then takes the stairs up to the second floor. Sophie opens the door to room 209. Inside are all the amenities you could expect from a modern apartment, and some you wouldn't have deemed necessary just the previous night, including thick blinds on the windows. The back room has a comfortable looking bed and a thick steel door with several sturdy looking locks, but no windows. Well, how do you like it? It's nice. In this very agreeable way, you know? Lacks character. Well, I would appreciate if you could hold back the need to redecorate. I'm actually really fond of the decor here. Tomorrow I will take you hunting and discuss the blood in more detail. I'll let you get comfortable. The key is by the television set. I will come pick you up tomorrow night. Use the back room for rest. You can lock the doors, just in case. It stings a bit when she leaves. It's like the room suddenly became a few shades dimmer. You inspect the kitchen, hoping to find something to drink. Nothing. No regular food either. Feels strange that Kadir could have been more thoughtful than your new sire, even if only in that respect. You briefly wonder if the sheriff might have a hidden side. With nothing left to do, you lie on the couch with the TV playing in the background for company. Columbo reruns. Kojak reruns. President of the United States got himself into serious trouble again. President of the United States got himself out of serious trouble again. Pundits start yelling at each other about things that seem a little bit less insignificant just 2 days ago. You start drifting off, reflecting about another night of confusing conversations and worldview shattering revelations. How many more before you finally understand what happened to you? And what you're supposed to do now? You keep coming back to the life you left behind, the people you should contact, the things you want to pick up from your apartment. You wonder when you'll have the chance for either. As you start to feel the same tiredness that made you drift into cold sleep last night, you settle in the back room. The bed is comforting, the lack of windows less so. You leave the light bulb on. Looking at it, you realise it's the closest you'll ever come to staring at the sun on a breezy summer day again. A wave of melancholy overwhelms you. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades and you take the plunge into darkness again. Sinking, 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 sinking. This game does, like... It's a really good introduction to Vampire the Masquerade. Ah. Just taking a wee break from doing the constant speaking while we're on this screen. How are we finding it, chat? Chorus is loving it and really invested in the story. Is this going to become... How long to beat? Hang on. Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. You're enjoying story time? How long to beat? Oh, fuck. Oh, that's all the achievements. No, I don't want to beat all the achievements. I just want to complete... Okay, it's a 6-hour game. Yeah, Fangs Friday looks like it's going to become a thing. Well, no, it's not going to be Minecraft Monday because Minecraft Monday is coming to an end. Or a temporary hiatus. So it'll be Red Dead on Monday and Thursdays, and then Vampire the Masquerade on Fridays. Because this game also has a sequel. So, as of next week, we'll be doing the final episode of Minecraft. And then we'll be doing a, I guess Red Dead on Thursday, and then this on Friday. And then we'll be shifting Red Dead to Monday and Thursday, and this on Friday nights. That sound good to everyone? Oh, okay. The pop of my shoulder there. I'm not sure if anyone heard it. We're just having a wee break right now, and we'll get back to it shortly. The mic did not pick up the clack. Okay. There was like a pop. So I was discussing with Chorus just before the stream started. My spine, like, if that's my butt, like, curves and then comes back out at a fucking angle like that. Like, it is a sharp angle. Um, we discovered today. Well, we discovered. I looked at and actually, like, gave the name to. We've known your spine is big curvy. It does the same thing yours does. Yeah, but I don't know what the words are for it. Gesundheit. Also known as selfie spine. Why is it called selfie spine? We're learning about spines now. We should put some music on. Let's go back to chatting while we chat a wee bit. Also, do you guys like the Ko-fi and the everything being turned red for these streams? You can't say I'm not a bit of an artist about it. Alright, let's see. Let's give you a full outfit check too. God, it's so dark you can't really see anything, but... Because of the trend where teenagers, typically girls, will curve their backs like that to make their butts look bigger, slash curvier. While taking selfies. Nah, you see, I'm just thick. I'm just naturally thick. It also helps make it look like you have a thigh gap. Glad to know that genetically I have a body that a teenage girl would envy. Anyway. Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desire to feed. To overindulge it in feeding may threaten the masquerade, while staining what humanity you have left. In Coteries of New York, having high hunger is indicated by a progressively thicker blood frame around the screen, just like the one you're seeing now. As your hunger grows, so does this indicator. Your hunger may increase when you call upon your vampiric powers or when you need to mend your wounds after a fight. When your hunger reaches the maximum level, you will receive a warning after you complete a piece of the story. Ignore it at your own peril. Some choices might only be visible if your hunger is high enough. Similarly, high hunger may block off some choices, as you will be able to see it after pressing continue. To decrease your hunger, you will need to feed. Whenever you see a feeding opportunity, you can take the risk to hunt and slake your hunger. You will need to keep the hunger at bay if you are to uphold the Masquerade and survive the nights that await you. I'm caught on my own fucking thing. My own robes. It's going to retweet and promote the stream a bit more. Feel free to also share the stream around, guys. It's a great way to help grow the channel, and of course, I want more viewers, so, you know. It would benefit me out a lot. Retweet, reblog, smash the like button, break the bell, kick the follow button in the face. Spam the emotes. I don't know. I'm running out of things. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled. Actually, we're also missing something, but can I use controller for this? So this will be so much easier. Oh, I can. Normally, you'd stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you'd probably throw the quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you are fully conscious. No grogginess, nothing weighing you down. Just a nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time. It is 9:04 p.m. Why am I looking at this one? The game's over here. It's probably because the mic is here and I'm like conscious that I'm not going to talk directly into it, but as long as you guys can still hear me from this angle. It's a bit quieter, but you walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is New York City's artificial nighttime luminescences. So that's what your waking hours are going to be like now. You missed the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself. But then you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour, and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe has a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendations. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Skye. Slept well? Like a dead man. Curious wording. But not that far from the truth, I suppose. No use dwelling on it, I think you will agree, with time. You made the right choice yesterday. I can teach you many things about yourself. Your blood, its desire and its power. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There's only one... Wait a minute. Dialogue options in the middle of the screen. So tonight I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. Wait a minute. This is stupid. I can go down there, and then I can move... I don't even really need to. I can just look at this screen. Oh, this is much better! I'm ready to learn. No more freebies. Predator and prey, huh? Grim. I'm ready to learn. Well, I'm ready to learn. Let's get started. Such eagerness. Or is it just your hunger making you impatient? You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop cultural mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. How do you avoid being seen? You isolate your prey, or you choose the right circumstances. People tend to avert their gaze when they see a couple entwined in public. Love bites are easy to explain away. Some of us keep willing herds, or even just individual kind who desire the kiss. That comes at a higher risk these nights, though, so I would not recommend it to a young kindred like yourself. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out you risk the ire of other kindred on whose domains you trespass. Luckily for you, New York City is more forgiving in this regard. New York is somewhat of a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson for another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory's waiting. The busy streets fill the air with traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells to disorientate you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. Did you really just think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for you and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thinned New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the busiest cities in the world can be, but compared to the daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have time to gather your thoughts and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up the Manhattan's iconic skyline. Come on, Skye. Park the car, Gregory, will you? The driver just nods, and Sophie gets out. I mean, so does Skye. You join her, and the two of you walk through the glass door together, then take the elevator up. You first note an empty stage with the instrument of a string quartet in the back, then taking a few dozen chairs in the front of it. The concert seemingly concluded. The patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are let through without an issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this one would prove quite challenging to an unexperienced kindred, but consider this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure for you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see here. There he is. She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, but especially the man who's almost tripping him over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How is your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl, come over, please. There's somebody I'd like you to meet. The young woman who walks across the hall can't be more than 19 years old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit into this crowd. Julie, this is Skye. I think you two should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what exactly Sophie expects you to do. You reach a secluded space in which the entire lobby is invisible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently. They laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out the next step. If you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, oh hey, it's Ramona Flowers! She puts her wrist to her lips and gives herself a good theatrical nip, then looks to you embarrassed, but also hopeful. What, you're into that sort of thing? She blushes, looks down at the floor, nods. Could you, if you like. Miss Langley tells me She swallows hard, avoids your eyes. That I taste nice. Drink from Julie, or don't drink from Julie? I mean, this is at least consensual. She has a tattoo that you guys can't see on her hand. It's like a cat with an astronaut thing on. Drink. You take her forearm into your hand. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching and no security cameras cover this area. You bite down, gently. It's surreal. She's just given you her blood of her own volition. How is this possible? What about the masquerade? You need to ask Sophie. Your thoughts disappear amid the bliss. There's just the taste. Sweet, fresh, sanguine. You drink. And drink. And drink. No. Stop. Stop. Stop! You tear away from the girl harder than you wanted. Still, the bite leaves tiny punctures. Almost as if by instinct you lick them clean as the two holes become concealed. Just like that. Julie's now leaning on the wall. Pale. Wobbly on her feet. But happy. She lets out a dreamy sigh. Opens her eyes. A tear falls onto her shirt. Tears of joy. Thank you. Please can you walk me downstairs? Please, my dad, he doesn't know. Thinks it's a condition. Miss Langley told him so. She leans on you and requests you walk her over to a bench. She takes a seat and smiles at you. The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? She has powers! You walk over to her. Edgar dear, it was splendid talking to you, but we must get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with Skye. Come with, Skye. Gregory's waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. I can tell from your look that you took the opportunity. Good for you. The girl's exquisite, don't you think? You wouldn't tell by her demeanour, but she has so much passion, it brings out a unique bouquet in her blood. She knows who we are? That's not normal, right? It's not usual, that much is true. But don't worry, she'll do anything I tell her to, and won't say anything to anyone that I haven't put in her pretty head first. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over to Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What did you do to the people back there? Even I was under your spell. What was that? She smiles with satisfaction. That old trick. Just the blood doing my bidding. We all have our talents. Some of them come from legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I can sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my blood to move with unparalleled precision and grace. And more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. What are my powers? Time will tell. You need to discover them yourself. When we arrive, experiment. Give different things a try. Follow your instincts and intuition. it will guide the blood. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It's all fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, but save those overt talents for the right place and time. It only takes you half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on it. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight. Yeah, I am! The stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood. But only pick one victim. Just one, then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone that could work, but focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Maybe the tennis courts nearby? There's light coming from there, so someone might still be playing a late night match. They wouldn't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As each scenario is playing in your mind, you realise you're planning on how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be now, but the familiar hunger prompts you to act. Hunt near the decrepit pavilion, I think. You make your way to one of the park's most well-known landmarks, the round skeleton of the New York State Pavilion, with its two vaguely futuristic-looking towers. You don't get lucky with the skate park. It's not deserted. Instead, a group of skaters is gathered there, talking loudly and listening to some music playing out of a crackling smartphone speaker. Deciding to have a quick look around, you identify a potential victim. A sleeping bag lady, leaning back on a bench, a shopping cart of what looks like trash nearby. One of these might be the right opportunity to take. You think back to what Sophie did in the hall, how she manages to focus the attention and the entire gathering on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. You single out a guy who's talking on his phone away from the gathering, having a heated discussion with someone. A relative? A partner? It's not going well. This talk's over. I said shut the fuck up. Hey, you hearing me? Shut up. Call me when you get some fucking sense into your stupid brain, okay? He ends the call abruptly and almost throws the phone to the ground in frustration. Rough night? He's got an angry expression on his face and tears welling in his eyes, but he gives you a curious look and even a bit of a shy smile. Yeah, you could say that. What's up? Come closer. Let's talk. I think you need someone to talk to right now, yeah? He takes a few steps forwards, away from his buddies, who remain totally oblivious to what's happening, but you see your influence fading. You take your chance and lunge. Your fangs sink into his exposed shoulder. He shivers and lets out a moan. His phone hits the pavement and you hear the casing crack. His blood tastes like a clash of hot emotion and melancholy, laced with some artificial stimulant you can't quite place. An energy drink? A recreational drug? It's a strange mix. You hardly have a chance to savor it, as the proximity of the skater friends makes you feel vulnerable. You hastily finish drinking and drag the guy over to the pavilion. When you turn around, you realize you're not alone. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. What do you think you're doing barging into my turf like this, Lick? Lick? What kind of slur is that? Don't be cute with me. I know what you are. Shove that masquerade bullshit up your ass. Up your ass. Please tell me you're with... But better tell me who you're with before my posse show up and beat it out of you. I came with Sophie Langley. She's my patron. Doesn't ring a bell. Sounds fancy though. He licks his lips, exposing his fangs, and looks at you vicariously. Voraciously? Voraciously. A nervous tick or an attempt at intimidation? I wonder, what would Calhine do to you if he brought you in, huh? Break your shins? Leave you out to be kissed by the sun? Ooh, concrete shoes, maybe. He's old-fashioned like that. Run back to Sophie. Fast. You take off. Fast. Faster than you've ever run before. The hoodlum has trouble keeping up, but howls behind you like an animal and gives chase anyway. Oh, Didn't mean to hit that button. As you reach the Unisphere again, you slow down, noticing two people near the sculpture, a man and woman tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. Sophie. It's Sophie. Feeding. But this whole scene is set up to look like it's a couple getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet, and as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. Her driver appears from behind a tree. Well, Skye, how did you go? You're about to answer when the same figure as before emerges from one of the alleys. He looks at you, at the three of you, and a predatory smile creeps onto his lips. You thought you could run away from me, Lick. Think you'll be safe with your friends? Well, I have friends too. He makes a motion to shout, but two things happen almost at the same time. First, that feeling of warmth and beauty emanating from Sophie flares up again, entrancing you both in the hood, both you and the hooded thug. His shout comes out as a weak, confused squeak. Secondly, Gregory produces a wooden stake from a holster under his jacket and slams it into the thug's chest. Just like that, in a few seconds, the posturing vampire is down on the ground, paralyzed. I see you made a friend, Skye. Curious choice of company, I would say. Who is he? He mentioned the Callahan. Ever heard of him? She looks shocked for a split second, then recovers her countenance. Yes, I have. This hoodlum is Anarch, then. Curious. Corona Park has not been claimed by any kindred last I checked. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this unbound acquaintance. Gregory carries the staked vampire and dumps him in the car trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not in that poor fucker's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away. But then you remember that Sophie's been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has just as many caveats as it has perks. You're taken out by your headspace with Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at Elysium and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. Good riddance. This guy's an asshole. Oh yeah, I can imagine he's going to enjoy meeting Kadir. I hope he gives him a good grilling. The guy's an asshole. Oh, Kadir will enjoy it too, I'm sure. She paused, seemingly lost in thought for a while. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope. I think so, yeah. I'll cope. I'm glad. She doesn't question you further. She seems distracted, not all there. Her thoughts drift and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We'll pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory, with the body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with situations like this in the past unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it will take time to process. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in a language you don't speak, or sound like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door, a moment of hesitation, but then this decision, you turn the lights off. You think back to Julie. How many people in the city know about the Vampiric Society? How many are willingly accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night where you can start crossing them off your list instead of adding to it. You close your eyes. You sink into the new familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms like an old friend. Hey, it didn't do the freaky noise one this time. There it is. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. Oh, right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living space. A book in hand, The Melancholy of Resistance. The title sure is on brand. Good evening, Skye. Sorry to have kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time where I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get in the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. I'm glad Gregory likes us. God, I want art of myself in this style. This style is so cool. I want to see what vampiric Skye looks like. Most of the Primogian Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you'd do well to at least learn about. Who should I talk to? How should I carry myself when inside? More politics? Great. Who should I talk to? Anyone I should talk to when we arrive? Not especially. My advice would be to try to talk to the prince and perhaps reassure her of your gratefulness for being spared. Maybe speak to Kadir at the same topic if you get a hold of him. The Primogen I would advise against. They're all rather stuck up, all told, and even if they will talk to you, they might try to secure you for some nefarious purposes. I wouldn't appreciate that. Of course, be respectful if anyone approaches you and strikes up a conversation. You will no doubt be gossiped about, as will I. Keep a cool head. Some enjoy provoking fledglings into stupid acts. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about it reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you, but it's clear what she's really concerned about. Her own interests. You step into the art hall with something of a bad memory. The last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down, and your existence nearly ended. But tonight, there's very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gave you a look that definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seemed pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie. Skye, did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there's something else you wish to present to the court tonight. Yes, Prince. They will be joining us shortly. My assistant is receiving them presently. Retrieving them, whatever. This better be worth the prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Kadir a cold glance. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Skye's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch. That must have hurt his ego. Even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you come back to all the talk of ensuing societal norms and disillusionment with the status quo you enjoyed back in the club. Look at you now. Behaved. Agreeable. She likely wouldn't be too happy with this whole setup. Prince, court, hierarchy, titles. But hey, she's gone. Probably forever. If you ever break out of this, it'll be on your own. The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit clad inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectively to Kadir. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captor's eyes flicker to life and he starts looking around in disbelief. Like a cornered animal, he backs out on all fours, keeps going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why, what do we have here? Oh fuck, oh shit, no, come on, don't! Silence. The sheriff takes an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks and you could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in this company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. Seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please, don't hurt me, man. Don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs, at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up. Let's go. He doesn't wait for confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming, out of the room. Conversations start all around, some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. What happens now? It'll be at least some minutes before Kadir gets the information he seeks out of this thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink. Still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off. A splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheeks. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here a few nights ago. She's a cold but noble countenance to her. The conversation seems to be casual. A loud shrill laugh turns your attention to the speckled man who you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel someone's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column, watching you. We went on our first hunt, and an anarch vampire approached us, and he got staked, and now we're back at the court to decide his fate. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. Well, we were advised to talk to the prince, so we'll talk to her first. You approach the prince, trying to stay as respectful of her private conversation as possible. She glances as you step forward, her scrutinizing gaze mimicked by her companion. She addresses the dark-skinned woman before turning to you. Excuse me for just a moment, Samira. Yes, Skye? What is it? I wanted to thank you for sparing me, Prince. I realize it wasn't an easy decision to make, and I wanted to express my sincere appreciation. How thoughtful of you. She takes a long look at you before she continues. I didn't do it for the kindness of my unbeating heart. You're an asset. To Miss Langley, to the Camarilla, to me. I believe I made the right decision. Prove to me and the other kindred of this city that it was so, and there might be more for your future nights than just survival and servitude. The dark-skinned woman looks impatiently at you and catches the prince's attention. Forgive me, that's all time I can spare right now. We have some things to discuss with Samira still. Enjoy your night, Skye. Just bow and leave. You leave the two women to their conversation, which they get back to almost immediately after the prince turns to Samira. You notice Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element and not to be disturbed. Kadir hasn't come back yet, so you can probably find time for at least one conversation. Confront the man looking at you. There's something about this guy. It's not that he's staring at you. Most everyone in this room has at one point or another. It's how he does it. He seems shy, maybe even afraid. It's hard to find a secluded spot in the gallery tonight, but this guy has an entire corner of the room to himself. As you approach, he stands alone with no glass in hand, a worried look on his face. Something wrong? What? Besides hanging out with a blood-drinking monster and acting like it's no big deal. No, I guess it's business as usual. His bitterness is palpable. Sorry. Having a bad night. The name's Larson, or you can call me Robert. Either's fine. Why are you standing alone like this? I'm not usually liked around these parts. I'm surprised you wanted to talk to me. Then again, you're new, so you probably don't know. I'm one of Prince Panhard's Primogen. I'm here on business in case the prince requires my insight. Usually it's so she can hear me out before ignoring me. Not sure if you were paying attention the other night, but when the prince mentioned diverging opinions on whether he should be executed or not, that was me. I was the diverging opinion. What was your reasoning? Not that I'm ungrateful, but out of curiosity. What was your reasoning? My reasoning? Just common sense. That you shouldn't be blamed for being assaulted and essentially murdered, to boot. But as Kadir loves to say, the traditions are clear. Listen, I don't want to be rude and I appreciate you reaching out, but word of advice? Stay away from me. Many vampires in this sect regard my position as primogen to be some kind of joke, you know. You talk to me, they'll notice, and they'll hold it against you. You have a quick look behind to see a few of your kindred keep shooting you curious glances. One woman in particular, a redhead boasting a fanciful hairstyle, watches you disapprovingly. Some of them already do, I imagine. Excuse me, I need to try getting a word in with a few primogen members before Kadir returns. Enjoy your night. With just a critical look of a few kindred to keep you company, you start thinking about who to pursue next. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everyone's attention. Kadir is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes the unfortunate victim inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. His shin is broken, you think. Something protruding there, making the pant leg bulge. One arm seems to be twisted at a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guest cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An anarch coterie, my prince. Active for some time now, though from what this one's told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years. I see. Hey, Prince, I didn't mean it. I didn't. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadir dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one's guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That alone would be enough to pass swift judgment, but he's also anarch scum. My prince? There can only be one verdict. Final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. Unless, of course, someone would like to play a good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The look the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm under yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. Oh, we can use our powers! In a split second, you make your choice. Focusing your blood, you dash forward and grab Howard by the back of his jumpsuit, pulling him away from the window. You expect some resistance, but find you don't have to worry about it when a swift cut separates Howard's head from his body. You let go and the headless corpse slumps to the ground. Kadir is standing beside you in the window, his sword drawn, and an ugly smile on his face. Well, Skye, your eagerness is laudable, if unnecessary. That Howard fellow couldn't have hoped to escape his fate, not facing Kadir's expertise. However, I have made show of this note of loyalty, on both you and your patron's accounts. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this anarch thug to my own and Kadir's attention. I assume all have found this verdict satisfactory? It's a rhetorical question and everyone here knows it. Then I consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to you all. She steps out of the room and you see that many of the guests move to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with someone, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have time to strike up a conversation of your own too. Kadir al-Asami is still here for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. Larson's moping around, and the other man you noticed before Kadir brought the anarch is still chatting with remaining attendants. Talk to Kadir. The sheriff's mood seems to have improved, so you decide you won't get a better shot at saying your piece. He's just sheathing his sword as you approach him. He notices you just before his face turns from a melancholic frown back to his regular predatory smirk. You seem to have caught him in a moment of reflection. What is it, Skye? Impressive work tonight. The smirk widens. He's clearly happy with himself. A fan of my handiwork. Interesting. You were this close to experiencing it firsthand. I would have thought you'd got some nasty flashbacks. Still, I have to admit, I was surprised as the prince when you jumped at the opportunity to stop that anarch from escaping. I was sure Valerie would have beaten you to it. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Do you enjoy being the sheriff? Enjoyment has nothing to do with this. It's my duty. When Calabros asked me to fill the shoes of the sheriff and root out our enemies, I was glad to serve the sect. When Helene became prince and asked that I keep doing this, I agreed. But I believe the Camarilla, and I respect the fact that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. He picks up the sword and turns towards the stairs. If more kindred understood that, my job would be much duller, though. On that note, I wish you good night. And watch yourself. You've messed up my batting average, so I'll be sure to keep a close eye on you. For that final threat, he leaves the gallery. It's right above where Sophie also ends her conversation. Right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time, you arrive at another building, just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs through a very nice lobby and luxurious-looking hall into her domain. Please have a seat. I shall be right with you. You take in your surroundings. Oh god, I've been talking like non-stop for 2 hours straight. How do regular streamers do this? You take in your surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece. Oh wow, I'm a real slut now. Hang on, my robe fell off. The apartment is like a gallery, an old school smoking room that you've seen in some period piece once. The D from that "and" is cut off. And an over-rish's living room, meticulously combined together. Apologies, old habits die hard. Clearly some stick with you even after death. She drags on her cigarette and breathes out. Breathes? How's she doing that? Can you do that? Oh yes, you might not know this. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you'd like. Other things too. Experiment. You might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest. These nights. That door in the back, the bedroom. Similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. When I told you before that I needed your best behaviour to uphold my good standing at the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interests in mind too. That's why I've given you your own haven, why I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you like, asking me something. When you're in trouble too, though I hope that won't happen often. I would ask you to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you. I'll be here. I appreciate that. Silence again. There's definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight, but she doesn't seem eager to share it. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip, a promise that you'll show up tomorrow, and some polite goodbyes later, you open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into this secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you, it's bound to teach you more about this thing you've become. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change. I'm glad to see I'm getting the tone right for my vampire game. I've wrote in a very similar way to this. Also, that ticking is because I'm alt-tabbed. Apologies for that, I have no way to make it stop. Except by tabbing back in, and then I can't do the things I need to do. So... there we go. So, should we bring vampires back into the Skye Blacke repertoire? It seems so. Fun fact, it seems that the age of vampire in modern media is coming to an end because a bunch of vampire movies have just been cancelled. I think one of the things that's affecting my voice more than normal is the fact that I'm switching between all these slightly different variants on accents. What do you guys think of the accents? There's no way I'm going to be able to remember them by next Friday. Like, I remember that Sophie talks softly, and Kadir and the prince are both posh. But that's about it. Fortunately, there is only, like, those handful of characters. Oh, and I gave kind of Robert a kind of roughly Celtic accent for some reason. Despite the fact that these guys are all American. Or at least have been living in America long enough they would have adopted an American accent. They're great, but I won't remember what you did by next Friday either, so no pressure. Yeah, these narrative-based games are Pretty good alternate chill options, I think. For oh, we could do Vampire the Masquerade on Monday actually. So rather than having it be Fangs Friday, we have Masquerade Monday. Not this Monday because we still have something to finish in Minecraft, but which you should all come to the Minecraft stream because it's a finale of some sorts. Yeah, from a story analysis, I really enjoy this game because it plays a bit like like a tabletop. I think it translates kind of well. Obviously, from a gameplay mechanic, you can't really explore the powers like you can in Bloodlines or what seems to be Bloodlines 2 or Blood Hunt, but it definitely has the more roleplay storytelling that Vampire the Masquerade tends to focus on. Because that's the big difference between Vampire the Masquerade's tabletop and like Dungeons and Dragons I've found, is that Dungeons and Dragons is much more mechanically reliant. Like it's a good middle ground between both of them, but Vampire the Masquerade is much more story reliant. Like you don't have saving throws in Vampire the Masquerade. You don't have things like that. There's not gameplay mechanics, it's just blood pool and ability. But it's much more based in the role playing. Once more, darkness falls upon the city. You wake up, same as you have the past few nights, in a windowless room. As you pry open the reinforced steel door, you look out the window to see, invariably, a sky bereft of sunlight. And then it hits you. The hunger. For a moment, you let yourself wonder if there will ever come a night where it's not just that there. Given what you've learned thus far, you probably have as much chance of kick-starting your heart with jumper cables. You lock the door behind you and head over to Sophie's apartment. You did promise to call on her, might as well not keep the lady waiting. And hey, what else are you gonna do? Call Jess? Yeah, right, what would you tell her? Even if she picked up, she'd probably use the opportunity to stick some more needles in you. Or worse, persuade you to come back. Or go back to work? Yeah, who are we kidding? HR probably found a replacement the day after you went missing. Nobody there cares if you got kidnapped or turned into a creature of the night. These thoughts put you in a weird mood. It's a strange sensation to walk the crowded streets, same as you have so many times before, but feeling so disconnected. All these people. You're not one of them. Not anymore. You're a vampire. Kindred. And now? You need to carve your own path in this strange new existence. One way or another. Appropriately enough, you arrive at Sophie's building just as that thought crosses your mind. A quick word with the security guard and you're let into the elevator. Apparently, Miss Langley is expecting you. Of course she is. You knock and wait, patiently as the footsteps on the other side grow closer. Finally, the door opens and Gregory, Sophie's driver, invites you in. You find the lady herself standing by the window, silhouetted against the city's midnight glow. She stares out, motionless, like a marble statue. Everything alright? She doesn't react immediately, but seems to snap out of some kind of meditative state and look at you with strange, bleary eyes. Yes, it is. How kind of you to ask. Tell me, when you look out on the city, when you see the lights and hear the hum and smell the rain on the pavement, what do you think about? You gaze out. The lights and rain, the relentless honking below, music blasting from a nearby window echoing off buildings. Someone should record an hour of this and throw it on YouTube as an ambient piece. Other than that, though, it's business as usual. The sights, the sounds, the smells, you know them all too well. Sophie watches you. You can tell she's disappointed somehow, but she covers it up with a courteous smile. Well, not everyone can appreciate the intricacies that this world offers. In fact, among the kindred, my clan is somewhat notorious for finding innate meaning even in the mundane. You see, the blood that flows within me is that of Clan Toreador. There are 13 such bloodlines among us kindred, though the number has been contested in the past, and these nights it seems that nothing is certain anymore. The clans have gone by many efforts. over the years, but the names used these knights have their roots in medieval times. The original Inquisition, if you can believe it. They used to categorize us, describe our inherent differences. In time, we adopted them ourselves. Yeah! Love reclaiming! Each clan has a uniqueness about it, inescapable, originating from an ancient progeny, carried from sire to child. For the Toreador, the gift lies in a sensitivity of sort. We are uniquely attuned to beauty and ugliness both. We can see either where most cannot, and a blessing on most nights, occasionally a curse. The sheriff is of my clan as well, although you'd be hard-pressed to see him as such. Poor Kadir, it breaks my heart to see him in this state. Still, there is a beauty to it, nothing like a good fall from grace. Try she might act playful, you can tell she genuinely cares. She lets her gaze wander for a brief moment, but is quick to regain her composure. Then there is the Ventru, known for their pride and proclivity to rule over others. The prince represents that clan, and it's quite common in our society around the globe. When the Blue Bloods think themselves ruler, the Bruja like to see themselves as reminiscent revolutionaries. They call for universal rebellion while being slaves to their own temper. We don't discuss the rabble much anymore, not after they largely broke off with the Camarilla. To think they were philosophers once, long ago. I hope to tell you more about some of the other bloodlines tonight. What's my clan? No, I can only guess based on certain aspects of your behaviour and taste. You'll need to come to your own conclusion and seek validation from your clanmates, if you require such a thing. As you will no doubt learn, some kindred fit these stereotypes more than others. The blood is hard to deny, though. They are clearly those who try. But that is perhaps a subject for another time. I invited you here for a reason. There's something I wanted to speak to you about. It's customary in our society, especially amongst younger kindred, to organise into coteries. Sometimes these are called by the prince themselves, or mandated by a fledgling sire. In our case, you may treat it as more of a strong recommendation. I want you to seek out companions, not only because you need to learn more about our society, but because it might be useful. True friendships are rare amongst kindred, but having allies, even temporary ones, is something of a necessity these nights. We might be selfish creatures, but we're drawn to each other nonetheless. Where should I look for allies? I was just about to get to that. She puts on a mysterious smile. I spent some of my precious time last night asking around, pondering potential kindred for you to meet. Came up with a short list of contacts. I hope you'll appreciate the gesture. Forging a partnership with them might offer perspective and viewpoints that I cannot provide. Lenses through which to view our kind. They're all members of the Camarilla, of course, more or less. You're choosing friends for me? It's like a playdate thing? Don't try to get clever with me, darling. Think of it as a gift, when you can put to good use or squander entirely. Either way, you're welcome. So let us start with the Tremere. They are a powerful clan, disliked by many, but feared and respected by many more. They're an important pillar of Camilla since the very beginning. They are blood sorcerers. You look at Sophie with a hint of disbelief. Blood sorcerers? Pretty sure Mark from QA used to bring up having a level 70 blood sorcerer. Somehow you don't think he meant magical vampires. Sophie snickers. Oh child, don't be caught with that look on your face when you meet a warlock in person. They really are adepts at using their vitae, their own as well as others, to unique and potent effects. Since they're quite rigid in their hierarchy, the kindred I had in mind for you might need some persuading. His name is Agathon. From what I hear, he's quite the scholar. Very ambitious. The child of a noted Tremere here in New York, Alison Sturbridge. Spend enough time with Agathon and I'm sure you'll run into her sooner or later. Blood magic? Intriguing. Oh yes, fascinating. It is also a well-kept secret of the Tremere. Don't expect them to share it right away. Some things have to be earned. Anyway, if you wish to contact the young Tremere, I hear you can usually find him in a New Age bookstore out on Broadway. The Tremere have one of their workspaces there. Gregory will give you the details. Now this next recommendation comes with a bit of a caveat. As you recall me saying, most bloodlines have unique features that might not be obvious at first glance. Well, there is one clan whose members wear their curse on their sleeve. The Nosferatu. Man, what is with these goofy names? Guess they're really big on Blue Oyster Cult. No wonder they make their heavens and sewers, abandoned buildings and such. Their appearance is hideous and obviously unnatural. Had they walked the streets like other kindred, the kind would have learned of our existence long ago. Does she just shudder? It's hard to tell with her usual complexion, but you could swear her skin suddenly took an even more sickly colour. The one I have in mind isn't a big eyesore as the worst of them, but he's no Adonis either. Still, he has some talents and connections that you might find useful. His name is D'Angelo, and he has an office, for lack of a better term, in the otherwise abandoned grain terminal in Red Hook, right next to one of those Swedish stores. The name escapes me. The one with the awful furniture. IKEA? Yes, that's it. My mind struggles to retain things that are aesthetically displeasing. What the fuck's wrong with... Actually, I have no IKEA furniture in here, I just realised. I was about to get all offended, but then I realised I left my IKEA furniture with my ex. D'Angelo does odd jobs for Kadir, digging up dirt, locating kindred who would prefer to remain hidden, the kind of work that Nosferatu are best at. He's on a case right now, something to do with kind murders, I think. Sorry about that. After your initial brush with our dear sheriff, I think it would be wise to show some goodwill towards his agenda. Assisting D'Angelo with his investigation might be just the thing. She takes a brief pause to look out the window again. Now come, the two more exotic proposals. Exotic? As if blood mages and the vampire detective were businesses as usual. You may have heard of the Gangrel before. They're a wild clan, in touch with their beast in a way others might not dare attempt. They mostly keep out of the big cities, but there are some around, I guess. Normally, they have been part of the Camarilla for 2 decades, but the one kindred I would like you to meet has stronger, shall we say, familial ties to the sect. Her name is Temeka. Her sire, Jezebel, was an instrumental during the Battle of New York back in 1999, the very same battle that cemented the city as Camarilla domain. Sadly, her achievement has gone largely unrecognised. Temeka and a number of her siblings still reside in the domain they were awarded after the battle, Prospect Park. Jezebel herself left the city some years ago, fed up being underappreciated. Siblings? Actual biological brothers and sisters? No, not in the mortal sense. The Gangrel sometimes use the word brood to indicate that children beget by the same sire. As you can probably tell, they do take the whole animal motif quite far. I'm not sure how many of them there are, but they're rumoured to be a tight-knit group. The Gangrel often act on instinct, so when you meet Tamek and her siblings, be careful not to slight them. They're easily provoked and can hold a grudge for a long time. I speak from experience. So you see, seeking out Tameka could prove educational if nothing else, and who knows, perhaps you'll find her temperament to be a welcome change of pace. But speaking of a change of pace, I have one last suggestion for you. There's one I don't make lightly. A kindred who calls herself Hope. She's a Malkavian. They are a uniquely cursed clan. For centuries we consider them mad, insane, unhinged. Those of us who spend enough time with them come to understand the truth. It is not sickness, but a unique perception of the world that has them appear as an unstable, and their perception can prove to be valuable. Having a Malkavianish companion might be taxing on the nerves and a true test of patience at times, but their insight and intuition are unrivaled amongst kindred. As for Hope specifically, she's said to be a recluse, but I have it on good authority that she can currently be found in an internet cafe, I believe it's called, in Lower Manhattan. Gregory has the address. An internet cafe? Really? How quaint. I really wouldn't know. But since you brought it up, be aware that the Camarilla is highly critical of using the internet to communicate. The Second Inquisition made sure of that. Exercise caution while at her haven. Well, I believe that's all of them. I still have a few social calls to make tonight, so I'll leave you to it. Use tonight and tomorrow night to arrange some cordial visits of your own. I will send Gregory for you as soon as I have further need of your services. Oh, and that reminds me. You will need a car. Join us downstairs, won't you? She smiles once more and turns to her driver. He helps her put on her coat, and the three of you leave Sophie's apartment. Sophie points to one of the cars near the building as Gregor hands you the keys. It's a rather inconspicuous compact car. A decent looking, if not luxurious, ride. Stay safe, Skye. This is your first night alone. Don't let it be your last. As they drive away, you'll find yourself with more freedom than you've had for the past few nights. A blessing or a burden? Time will tell. With a list of addresses in hand, you consider your next move. Sophie's mention of vampiric clans. A clan of blood swords. Oh, I can... Okay, so who should we go see? Chat? Who shall we go and spend some time with? I'm intrigued by everyone but the Toreador, to be honest. I was asking, by the way, like it's you guys' decision. I'm not gonna, like, I'll choose if no one says anything. Okay, well, let's start with Hope. She sounds like the most interesting. Ah, the Malkavian. It's a quiet, moody internet cafe. Half of its space serves as a comfy coffee bar these days, but behind the glass wall it still has space. You said you were going to wait for me to dye your hair. To serve as comfy... Half of its space serves as a comfy coffee bar these days, but behind the glass wall it still has a space dedicated to a row of PCs. From the streets you can notice tired adults in casual clothes, typing away absent-mindedly, and some bored kids wasting the late evening hours on colourful online games. If Sophie's intel is to be believed, this is where Hope has set up her haven. Of course, one of the waiters is standing outside the building, gazing at the sky with a smartphone in one hand and a vape pen in the other. You approach the man and tell him, "I'm looking for Hope." He releases a soft chuckle. "Yeah, you and me both." The man slowly takes a drag from his e-cig, sizing you up and down in silence. After a long, awkward moment, when you're ready to leave him, he raises his voice again. "Come, right this way." He heads back into the cafe and you follow his lead. When you make through the space with computers, no one averts their gaze from the spreadsheets, emails, Facebook profiles, or games of Fortnite. It's a common sight, one you wouldn't have paid much attention to a few weeks ago, but now it seems unnervingly quaint. Would they still be spending their time like this if they were immortal? The waiter unlocks an unassuming door and enters the room and lets you inside. You two swiftly make your way through a labyrinth of sterile grey corridors, taking confused twists and turns. Feels like you're travelling into a different world, crossing one invisible portal after another. Eventually, you reach your destination. Your guide motions you to a dark room with a lone source of pale light, a computer screen in the distance beckoning you to come closer. As you do, you hear the door shutting behind you, and a short chuckle echoing behind it. Is this the place? Nothing else to do but sit in a chair in front of the computer. The monitor displays a modern chat application. A cursor is blinking in the user nickname entry field in the middle of the screen, obviously expecting you to input your handle. After a brief consideration, you type something goofy. Maybe your newfound sensibilities going haywire, but this place has a barely noticeable sleazy aura. Might as well go along with it. You input Pornos Collector and push the button. After a few seconds, the chat window opens and a message starts appearing on the screen in quick succession. Hostage Executioner. Oh my god. Okay. Hostage Executioner. Just to be clear, I don't have a wank rag. Cult of Luna, Lamau. Thirst victim. Oh, for sure. Hostage Executioner for real. Cult of Luna. Lamo was meant for Jerry, of course. Jezzy Hooker. Not much longer. Yeah, Jerry's the chat... Bastardo. Jerry's the chat MVP. Hostage Executioner. I mean, I've admitted to far worse things on here. Sexy bozo. God, I'm so horny. Hostage Executioner. Not sure why I'd have a need to lie about this one. Cult of Luna. Oh my god, literally who cares? Turtle Guy. You and me both, bozo. Heart Filthy Lesson. Wait, who's Pornos Collector? Jesse Hooker. Pornos collector? Hopeful number 1. No idea. Thirst victim. A new user. Wasn't here a second before. Hostage executioner. What the hell? Was anyone informed? Hopeful number 1. No announcement. Heartfelt lesson. I know I wasn't. At Jerry2010. Cult of Luna. Jerry2101. Pornos collector. Identify yourself within 2 minutes or get banned. The chat goes silent. Everyone seemingly waiting for you to say something before proceeding. This must be a close-knit group. Better say something before they kick you out. I'm looking for Hope. Is she here? Who the fuck are you? I can't read all of this that fast. Who the fuck are you? This was meant to be a safe channel. Investigating what went wrong. How did they even get in here? Stay calm. Can you get the location, Jerry? Lol. Yeah, sure. That's our Jerry. Gonna DM it to anyone interested. Oh boy, now you're in trouble, Pornos collector. Yeah, you're gonna regret, dumbass, the day you decide to spy on us. You've had enough of the trash talking randoms. Time to teach them some respect. Your blood fires up. Ancient power starts coursing through your veins. Fingers tapping the keyboard buttons on their own. You people better stay quiet if you know what's good for you. You have no idea who you're messing with. You will obey me. The chat goes silent once again, and then it explodes. And then they're just all mocking me. Guess your powers don't work online. Go figure. You know your cheeks would burn right bled right now if they could. Oh cool, they're all threatening to kill me. Someone's changed their name to Fuck Pornos Collector. A jolt of panic rushes through you, your brain paralyzing you momentarily. You've come to the wrong chat room, motherfucker. Ridiculous whisper rings out to your ear next, and the grip under your head gets even tighter. You start struggling, but even with your newfound supernatural strength, you're having trouble breaking out. This isn't a normal human you're dealing with. Last words? Your chat room sucks ass. Hey, that's just rude. But I still laughed. The hand holding your chin shifts its position slightly. Don't struggle or I'll break your windpipe, or my phone, which would be even worse for you. Sounds of a camera shutter and a light flashing. Did they just take some selfies with you? Alright, that's enough fun. I'm letting you go. We can have a talk. Don't do anything stupid, Mr. Intruder. Pretty please. The mysterious assailant loosens their grip on you and gently pushes you away. You quickly turn to take a good look at them. Let me just finish this. It's a pale blonde woman in her 20s, giving you a slightly judgmental while rapidly tapping on her phone screen. First, you notice her outrageous outfit, seemingly thrown together from random thrift store finds. Then, you take note of her tattoos. A sprawling tapestry of odd patterns and designs cover every visible part of her body. At first glance, it all seems aimless, but has a consistent sense of style upon closer inspection. Her eyes focus on you for a second. Gave you a scare, huh? Sorry, that's what you get for entering a lady's haven without her permission. And she's back to her phone. With her relatively small build, it's hard to believe you had trouble overpowering her physically. But then again, nothing's what it seems when it comes to the undead. And even compared to vampires, she comes off as eccentric, curious presence. She shoots you another glance, noticing you're still curious of her. Calm yourself, man. I wouldn't put anything like this anymore. I was just... feel stupid to say out loud. A vibe check. Vibe check. Yeah, I got a glimpse of your vibe on the internet and in a dangerous situation. I'd say I've got a pretty good idea about who you really are. I'm Hope, by the way. If you're here, you've probably heard of me, so I went ahead and skipped the pleasantries, but come to think of it, I might have skipped too many. Yeah, she definitely fits the description you were given by Sophie. I still can't believe you got so mad online. You actually tried to use your powers on people talking trash about you from who knows where? Jesus. But you know, I kind of respect the dedication. It's amusing. Your chat room sucks ass was funny, so there's that. Unless you really meant it, in which case, hey, fuck you. Oh yeah, credit where it's due, you're probably not a boring person online, going by your chosen handle. Believe it or not, amongst blog sellers, that's so rare. Most of them are like clueless baby boomers when it comes to internet stuff. Bye, Tundra! Good to see you, and I'll see you again on Monday. Anyway, don't worry about the chat, it was all a game to us. No hard feelings, okay? I'll introduce you properly later. On the monitor, the chat continues. Normally, your visit is like yesterday's news, no longer relevant to anything. But, look, if we're going to talk about you, you should really have something to say too. What are you doing here? About time, she asked. Note to self, she really loves the sound of her own voice. Sophie Langley sent me. Langley? Wait. Shit! You're the new Langley plaything! Word seemed to be getting around fast. Of course you are! It was obvious the second Langley got her hands on a new server. You start building the network. Your mission tells me that could really come in handy when... But Langley, that's a risky game. That kind of ambition attracts too much attention. Piss off. But then again, fucking cat. She seems to be having a spirited argument with herself. Only part of it is audible. It's just you, or her facial expressions and body language change a bit between one sentence or another. Before you make certain it's not just your eyes playing tricks on you, she focuses half of her attention back to you. The other half is of course still obsessed with her smartphone. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not interested in cooperation, but before I make a decision, I need to make sure you sort of understand me and that I sort of understand you. And since I was planning to put on a show before you came here, I propose a little game. Hope absent-mindedly spins her phone in her hand, considering how to put her thoughts into words. Then she approaches a switch on the wall and flicks it. Neon lights flare up, illuminating the room. You take a look around. The room is certainly unique. It looks like a butcher's room, repurposed to be a living space. The modern computer in front of you starkly contrasts the ominous industrial walls. At the back, there's an overwrought bed covered in velvet with meat hooks hanging above it. On top of the bed sheets, you notice what seems to be a piece of elaborate S&M equipment and a camera. Wait a minute. You want my help? Moderate my cam show. Cam show? Your eyebrows twitch involuntarily. This is definitely not the kind of request you expected here tonight. She notices your confusion. Take it or leave it, buddy. You just became a kindred, but you want to become my partner in crime? Show me you can handle yourself while watching my back in an everyday environment. She's serious. Sure starts in 10 minutes. If you think yourself better than this, you better walk out now. I won't hold a grudge. I've got better things to do. As if to prove it, she starts looking at something displayed on her phone and cracks a brief grin. Another reply typed down with absurd speed. Tap, 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 tap. 9 minutes. It's now or never. Show moderator. Risk of violating the masquerade. Hi. Contents warning? Oh yes. So do you take the job? Why the hell not? Hope brightens up and her smile looks surprisingly sincere. Excellent. I promise you might find this interesting in more than one way. Alright, give me a second. She spends a minute setting up a computer used before, then urges you to sit down. The explanation of the moderator's function is simple. It boils down to ignoring anyone who doesn't disrupt the chat, banning anyone who does, and kicking anyone who causes minor trouble. 5 minutes later, she's already online, sitting on her bed in a provocative pose. It's a sex show, isn't it? Her voice, previously hushed, rings out with full force. How are you doing tonight, hopefuls? You peek at the chat. Time for some horny people. Ignore. Tonight's show is quite special. Please welcome our new moderator, Pornos Collector. Sorry for sentencing you to death earlier. At least the community seems to be a bit more welcoming this time. Looks like this place is an established hazing ritual, or maybe they and Hope came up with this one specifically for you. You decide to stay silent. Eventually people stop riffing on you and focus entirely on the star of the show. Alright, let's start with this one with a bang, shall we? So this is where the strip show starts. You raise your head, curious about what kind of performance she's going for. First, she opens her mouth and reveals her retractable fangs in front of the camera. Right off the bat, the audience is treated to a sight of a wholly human set of teeth turning into a monstrous maw. The image is both revolting and fascinating. She raises her left wrist for everyone to see, and then bites. The fangs immediately turn her arm into a horrifying, gory mess. It's unclear if she used them to slash or bite, but one thing for sure, no ordinary human could cause such damage. If an ordinary human suffered such a wound, you'd expect a geyser of blood to appear too, but it doesn't. Hope's technically a corpse, so it's impossible. She flashes a monstrous smile and starts smearing vitae all over her hands to maximize the impact of the violent image. Then she starts drinking it up. She makes it to a point to make a sight of as gruesome as possible, looking like a hyena feasting on a corpse. The contrast of her behaviour with her look as an Instagram model is stunning. Once she's done, she reveals her wrist to the camera for the last time. She starts making theatrical gestures with her right hand as the wound begins to mend. Shortly after, the wound is gone. It's like a magician's trick. Her left hand looks nothing bad ever happened to it. Here's an appetizer. First blood to kick off the show. While you're wondering what the hell is going on, Hope catches a glimpse of your bewildered face and turns into your direction. How's that for an opening? This is not a sex show. Were you counting on me getting naked in front of you or something? Oh honey, we've just met each other. If you expected a trip show, yeah, sorry to disappoint. This is more live stream digital art. There's erotic subtext there, of course. You peek at the chat, they're going wild. But eroticism is not the key here. It's vampirism. It's a new frontier, a living art installation. In the early 90s, the Japanese artists kept producing these videotapes of beautiful women committing gory harakiri. Those as an inspiration. She bares her fangs again in a devious grin. But I have no interest in auto-destruction or turning myself into a victim. This is a celebration of a body I love, not self-inflicted punishment. The audience came here to marvel at a beautiful vampire and her awe-inspiring powers. Mending wounds is just one of those powers. The people watching can pay to see more. Oh, and don't worry, the only thing the audience can see and hear are the things I allow them to. We can talk freely, just remember to moderate the chat. High risk of violating the Masquerade? What a joke! She's blatantly breaching it in front of anonymous viewers. Still speechless, you turn your attention to the screen. A special message appears on the chat log claiming someone has successfully sponsored the first goal of the show. Hope smiles and picks up a bag of blood from underneath the bed. It must have been retrieved from a blood bank. She showcases the label to the camera for everyone to see. Drink up, drink up, drink up, drink up. Hope pours all the contents of the bag into her throat. You have no doubt it's real blood, but wonder why the viewers would be so satisfied with something that's so easy to fake. Don't worry, it pays well enough. You don't even bother to tell her this is not what you're thinking about. Safe to assume she knows. So what do you know about the Kindred and the internet? Have they told you anything? While she's waiting for them to sponsor her next vampiric feat, she's decided to start a conversation. Is there a vampire internet? You'll find something that looks like vampire internet, stay away. See, some of us used to experiment with our own secure networks. Yeah, ShrekNet! We tried to build our own information hubs, social networks, everything. She's still working the phone in one hand while looking for something under the bed with the other. On how many things can she concentrate on at one time exactly? Then one day the NSA got in. Turns out the elders never really got a hang of proper security practices. All the sigils they used to smear on their screens didn't work as advertised. Then of course all the other three-lettered intelligence agencies in the world got the intel, and a lot of them decided bloodsuckers were the perfect new enemies for our post 9/11 times. The Second Inquisition came into being. Ever heard of it? A lot of our kind died because they were too present online. Right now, the remains of our old network serve as government honeypots, kept alive to attract fledglings and hunt them down. You post a certain keyword on Twitter or Facebook, you get tagged for investigation. You fit certain patterns, you get tagged for investigation. So there's a certain thrill in becoming an online presence without attracting attention from the authorities. She stretches on the bed. I hope you're still monitoring the chat. Of course not. You're not good at dividing attention as she is. You would correct your mistake and check the recent messages. Despite the nickname, they seem supportive. You leave them alone. You look away from the screen for a second. When you look back, there are 3 new messages from the same users. The guy gets banned and Hope gets back to running the show. Anyway, yeah. When the Nosferatu admitted to Camarilla that their network got compromised, the elders went batshit insane. Internet communication became strictly forbidden. There were executions. A lot of people who used social media to secretly contact their mortal families and lovers got offed. That goes without saying. But if you weren't careful, even the most innocent web usage could result in being punished with final death. Thanks to the user Dick Steele, the next goal has gotten successfully funded. Turtle Girl, let's go! Vanishing Act. Dehumanize yourself and face the bloodshed. She raises her hand, 3 fingers up, 2 fingers up, 1 finger up. The countdown ends and she immediately disappears from the screen, like a ghost. You can still see her on the bed, but the live feed indicates there's nobody there. When you deeply focus on the digital image, you swear you can make out some unusual glitching where her silhouette should be, but it could be just very well be a placebo. You ready for this? 3, 2, 1. A flash of the camera. The instant she reappears on the screen, she takes a selfie, sticking her tongue out in a provocative manner. The chat room explodes in cheers again. She is their vampire queen. You briefly wonder about her being glued to the screen. Is this the fantasy everyone is here for? A girl showing off cheap magic tricks while lazily browsing social media? You realize you're way out your depth. Meanwhile, Hope continues her lecture. There were some wild times, especially in New York. While most of them have no clue as to our real nature, a lot of clandestine organizations have classified us as a national threat. And since this is where the towers fell, the agencies are very much present around here, looking for easy PR victories. The last SI raid was here just a few years ago, and it was a big one. Started up the hornet's nest something fierce. But although it's 2019, NYC is ruled by someone who got embraced before World War II, and the cam as a whole get really spooked and swore off the internet. Of course, they're not dumb and understand that you can't coexist with modern kin without the internet. It's a grey zone right now, like piracy, technically frowned upon, but let the one who casts sin, without sin, cast the first stone. The SI is a real threat, no joke. But in many senses, the darkest place is right under the candle. Take another look at the screen. You give the guy a kick for spamming the chat. The message is deleted so fast. Hope might not have even noticed. A duty carried out well. You're surprised to feel an inkling of pride. Oh yeah, fun fact about being a vampire. We can sweat and pee if we just exert ourselves really hard. Some of us can even orgasm. We can even cry, but only tears of blood. It's something I've always dreamed of doing when I was 14. So romantic, and it drives them crazy. As proof of a word, a scarlet tear starts running down her face. The chat goes wild. It seems to be exactly the kind of thing they're waiting for. I'm gonna kick the racist. Just to be clear, you realize what we're doing here is a blatant breach of the Masquerade, right? I honestly expected you to leave or inform someone by now, but you haven't, have you? You try to focus on the chat. A familiar nickname is displayed on the screen. Ban! Good job handling that guy. Great, if nothing else works out, seems like you fit this job at least. In any case, the last goal has just been funded. It's time for the great finale. This is what you've been waiting for, right? Her voice has changed. She gets closer to the camera, letting her face fill the frame on the live feed. Her mesmerizing eyes are focused purely on the viewers. You wanted blood? Come out into the streets, claw out your neighbor's throat, slash their veins and drink up. Hope's presence becomes absolutely horrifying and influences the chat in some incomprehensible way. Everyone starts typing like they're possessed. Liberate yourselves from the shackles of an ordinary mortality. Make them scream. Feel the warmth of their entrails. What the hell is she doing to these people? What have you gotten yourself into? Transcend your bodies. Release this message of hope into the world. She jerks violently for a second and then falls down on the bed like a marionette that just had its string severed. She exhales loudly a few times and laughs. When she does, the room goes dark again. Alright, that's enough. Instead of continuing, she does something with her phone. The stream ends and the chat instantly becomes dead quiet. Let me take over. The atmosphere in the room has completely changed. She's already put herself together and stood up. Now she's walking towards you. At Volga. What the fuck just happened? At Jerry. Guess the show's over. Everyone's relax and go home. Aw, I was almost ready to come, bros. Hostage, I swear on my father's grave, one day I will find you and kick the ever-loving shit out of you. After every line she delivers, she changes her voice, the way she puts her lips together, and even the way she moves. You've caught glimpses of her acting this way, but now you've only started to figure it out. Wait a minute, does it mean... I'm immortal, I'm bored, I'm separated from most vampires in the city by a generational chasm, and I'm so goddamn lonely, the internet used to be my only friend. Years ago, I started researching all this unconsciousness, researching tulpas, collective unconsciousness, all the mumbo-jumbo at the intersection of psychology and spirituality, and decided to experiment. The show was fake. A few years later, I was an Instagram fashionista, a successful erotic model, a vital part of pop culture commentary, a viral shitposter, a cryptocurrency expert. All of my interests, internet sales started signal boosting each other, paving the way for new ones. I became a one-woman empire surrounded by a legion of psycho fans. The chat was fake. Some may think of it dissociative identity disorder, but that's bullshit. Everyone has an online alter egos they buried. I just resurrected them, gave birth to new ones, and let them crossbreed. Or constant tapping at the phone, even during the show. Somehow she's capable of impersonating an entire chat room. I don't even have a self that could be dissociative or be mentally ill. I'm a host, a living database. I live because I find it fun to be an information conduit, to process trends and support the ones I deem worthy. There was no Masquerade violation. She was showing off her skills all along. She put you into a world of pure fiction. The same way she was testing you when she first attacked you from the back. Damn, she's good at this. Of course, you can't just ignore what I'm saying and decide I'm just another deranged Markavian, but hey, annihilation of the self is the only way to survive. If there was ever an era that deemed images of beautiful people transcending beyond humanity, inspiring others to do the same, it's this one. Although for now, because of the Masquerade, my audience is quite limited. Speaking of, you want to be the star of my next movie? Hell no. Aw, you're no fun. But yeah, your test is over. Now the question is, do I want to work with you? She puts away her phone for the first time since you've met and gives you a good, hard look. Vibe check Vivo. Guess I can give it a shot. Yeah, you're not that dumb. You're not that boring, and you're kinda cute. Don't worry, no more modding jobs. Mods get attached. And that's always bad news. She grabs your arm and starts leading you out of her room. I've put you through enough shit. Next time, I'll let you in on a little job I'm doing. We'll hit the streets and you'll see why Sophie told you to contact me. She leads you through a labyrinth of grey corridors. It's a different route than the one you made your way through in. This city is so much more than what its elite consider real. Stick with me and I'll guide you to places Camarille's elders couldn't reach in 100 years. She leads you out the building into the back alleys. Even if someone else rules the streets, we will rule the information highways. This is the power of hope. She lets out a theatrical laugh and disappears. You don't even notice when she leaves you alone, but you assume everything went as well as it could. A new ally, the power of hope. As you walk off into the night, everything around you feels a little less tangible than it did a few hours ago. You notice something strange by the front door of your haven. A letter has been slipped under the door in a cream-coloured, old-fashioned envelope. There's no name on it, but you know it's meant for you. Opening the letter, it's clear it's been sent by someone incredibly old-fashioned, rich, or a fan of classic stationery. No normal person sends letters like this. The note is short and terse, written in elegant, delicate handwriting. You're cordially invited to a rendezvous at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine. I'll be waiting to make your acquaintance tomorrow night. Look for me closer to God. There is no other information. It looks like you have a mysterious invitation for the following night. And we're going to rest and call it a night. I think. So that was Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. I hope you all enjoyed it. And it seems this will become a regular thing now. My voice is absolutely shot, however, from speaking for 2 hours straight. So we are going to have to call it there. I hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll be back probably next Friday with more Vampire the Masquerade. Coteries of New York. Anyway, enjoy the stream. I hope you enjoyed the stream, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to just support me in a more direct way, you can tip through Ko-fi, or follow me on. Or if you want to support me in a less direct way, you can follow me on social media or join the Skye Blacke Discord. That was a really fun stream, guys. Have a good night, and I will see you next week. Bye, everyone.